In the last video of this chapter, I'm going to show you how to improve and color your traced vector objects. When you have a simple object like this one here in the middle, it is fairly simple to change its colors. All you need to do is to pick a swatch, or remember you can shift click on the fill color option, which will give you the color slider, and you can very quickly pick any color you prefer. Now, when you have a traced silhouette and you're not happy with the silhouette itself, you will have to go closer and make amends to it. Like if you remember, this point here was actually sharp. The nose is not as characteristic as it used to be. So how do we improve that? Well, first of all, it's always good to zoom closer. And then what I will do is to use the direct selection tool and select that point that I need to turn into a sharp corner. Remember that we have the convert anchor point option up here, so whatever is smooth point can become a sharp corner. And what I can do is to drag this slightly further up, but then using the pen tool I can define another point on the path like there. And if I want to turn this quickly into a sharp corner point, I can also use Alt click with the pen tool. So now I have 2 points and I can drag this other one up there, and immediately we have that sharp nose back that we lost while we were tracing. Similarly to this, we have also a little bit messy outline here. Once again, if I just select the whole object and I select the smooth tool, I can go over these edges and try to simplify it a bit more and generally straighten these lines out a bit. Also, don't forget, you can use the lasso tool, select an area, and then from the object menu, path, simplify, you can change the curve points all at once into straight lines. When I have the preview on, you can see it straight away. So that was before, and this is after. If I click OK, I can even use the pen tool now to remove a couple of unnecessary handle points, and the direct selection tool to move these remaining points into the position that I need them to be. To emphasize this umbrella going down, I could even create a point like that, and I can remove these 2 points. So I simplified this down, this whole shape, into a simple triangle, which is much easier to handle and work with. So it is always worth spending some time improving the tracing results, but with more complex tracings, you will have to work a little bit harder than that. If we want to keep the quality of a hand-drawn sketch, then of course there's no need to do anything. But when you want to colorize something a bit more complex like this, you will be having serious trouble using any simple coloring technique because of all these open parts and missing detail. So let me just show you what I mean. When I select this object and I use the live paint bucket, which we've already introduced in previous videos, remember the shortcut is K. So once that's selected, I can again pick a color, but I'm just going to stick with the same color for now. Clicking on the body, it actually fills it up nicely. By the way, if we want to see it without all these anchor points, I can go into the view menu and choose hide edges. That way we can see exactly what we are doing. Now once again, if I click on the head, that worked perfectly. If I want to click on the neck, that works nicely as well. And let me just change the color to something else. So maybe have the neck blue, and then I will do the arm blue as well. So something like that. So far so good. So you can see that it is actually not that bad until we reach details like the legs where there is no closure. So they are open. When I hover over this part here, you see that it highlights the area that is going to be turned into that color that I have. And unfortunately, it's going to include all this area as well because there is no division there. The same thing would happen if I go over the foot, and not to mention these claws here. So what can we do in these cases to still maintain this feel of a hand-drawn sketch, but still be able to add color easily? What I recommend to do is to have this object selected and then double click on it. That way you will be working directly inside that group. So we are in isolation mode. Now we can switch to any of the drawing tools, maybe blob brush I'm going to switch to. So that is Shift B, or selecting it from underneath the paintbrush tool. And then I'm going to use the square brackets on the keyboard to reduce the size of my brush. And that's how it's going to look like. So now I'm ready to add those missing details. First of all, I'm going to paint over this part here, then making sure that's closed as well. We can then focus on the close. There was a missing line, another one, and then the leg, something like that. So just by adding these few lines, I'm hoping that it will be much better. And by the way, while we are at it, I might also use the eraser tool to remove a couple of unnecessary details. That's Shift E, the eraser tool, and then just simply paint over those bits that you don't need. And that's probably all for now. That was bugging me. So I can switch back to the live paint bucket and go back to adding colors here. But before we can continue with the live paint bucket, there's one very important thing to check. And that is from the layers panel within the group of this robot, we have to double check that everything that we added is actually inside the live paint group. As you can see, that's not the case. So there's the live paint, and these are the elements that I added. So I'm just going to quickly select all of these and then drag and drop them into the live paint group, just like that. So now they will work together nicely. I can now select the paint bucket tool, Alt-click to sample a previously used color, Alt or Option, that's the eyedropper by the way, and then I can just click and continue adding in the details. Shift-click on the swatch, I can pick a different color, maybe a darker color for the legs, just like that. We can again Alt-click and maybe pick this pink for adding these little details. And there you go. Maybe for the eyes we can use again the blue. And then for the ball here on the head, we can use that other color. So now we actually managed to colorize this illustration, but still keep that sketchy look. So it's not as clean as the other outline. Now the best thing at this point that I like to mention is that if you don't like the colors you ended up using, it is very easy to change them by selecting the whole object and going into the recolor artwork option in the options bar. If you click on that, it will list all the colors you have in the current selection, and then from the edit options you can even see them on a color wheel, and you can very quickly and easily adjust them all at once. I can even link the color harmony together, and that way I can move all three colors together, so maintaining the harmony between them. I can also reduce the brightness or increase the brightness of these colors and do so many other things. I don't want to get too deep into recolor artwork because I have a separate video in which I'm going to explain this under the advanced techniques. But let me just show you how it works on one of these other images, like the one with the seagull. We have the recolor artwork available here as well to make changes, but obviously this has a lot of more colors than just the one that we had on the left. So when I switch to the color wheel under edit, you can see that's a lot of colors here. But still, if I turn on the link harmony colors, I can start moving these all at once. And it's almost like adjusting colors, like changing the hue values in Photoshop. I can turn the image around and invert the color. So now we have blue beak. I could even simplify all these colors down to, let's say, just monochromatic colors, or trying the other options from here. Maybe monochromatic 2 might work better, or maybe compound 1, and so on and so forth. And that is all I wanted to show you in this chapter. So now it is your turn to go through these exercises, and I would like you to also try scanning your own illustrations or bring in some of your own photographs, maybe do some edits and preparation on them in Photoshop, and then try to create your own tracings to go through all these features that I showed you and generally get confident in working with images in Illustrator.